In this video, we'll take a look at the first grade standard for numbers and operations in base 10, 2, and 7. The big piece with these two standards is that students are extending their understanding of place value that they begin to develop in kindergarten. Let's take a look at NBT 2 first. Here, students should understand that the two digits of a two-digit number represents the amount of tens and ones. Understand that the following as special cases. Let's dive in closer to these three separate standards. NBT 2A. 10 can be thought of as a bundle of 10 ones, and it can also be seen as a group of 10, 1 10. It's this understanding that we can take 10 ones and put them together to form a single 10. And then, once students understand this idea of regrouping 10 ones into a group of 10, they will begin to see that the numbers from 11 to 19 are composed of a 10 and some loose ones. This standard is built on the understanding that they built in kindergarten. Here we want students to see that when they represent the number 17 with a 1 and a 7, they see that it's actually composed of a single group of 10 and 7 loose ones. They need to begin to understand that the 7 in that 17 represents how many loose ones, and the 1 in that 17 represents how many groups of 10. And then the last standard is NBT 2C. Students need to understand that the numbers from 10 to 90 refer as how many groups of 10 and 0 ones. So that if students were going to look at the number 40, they see it as a group of 4 tens and 0 loose ones. Let's take a look and see how we could engage students in this standard. All right, what's this one?
61.
What's this one?
69.
What's this one?
48.
What's this one?
78.
What's this one?
60.
How are you doing it so quickly?
Because I knew if this was 5, these were 10, it would be 50 plus 10 equals 60. And if this was 5 plus 3 equals 8, it would be 8 plus that equals...
Whoa, I love your thinking. Okay, all right. Okay, let's try this now, because you're kind of blowing me out of the water here, dude. All right, let's try this one. You have this card, and I'm gonna throw a card down next to it, and you have to tell me the total, okay? All right, ready? How many do you have on both those two cards? Go.
Is that your dad? 65. No.
Okay, how did you get 65?
Because I knew if this was 4 and this was 2, 40 plus 2, 20 equals 6.
60, okay. What about this one?
61.
What about this one?
56.
What about this one?
105.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I don't think you need this anymore. I'm going to go ahead and give you this. Okay?
Okay.
All right? Actually, what I'll do is I'll put it on this side. So it's whatever the card is showing plus whatever I show you. What's this one?
96.
What about this one?
66.
66? Okay, how did you get 66?
Because if this was 50 and this was 10, 50 plus 10 and 55 plus 1 equals 60.
And then what about this extra 20?
86.
86. Okay, what about this one?
This was 70 plus 1, 88.
How did you get 88 so quickly, dude?
Because if I minus 1 from this and put 1 dot right here, it would be 10, so I would make a stick. And then I would know that if this was 80 and then I would still have 8 left, and then it would be 88.
Whoa, all right. I like what you're thinking. Okay, let's do another one. Ready? What about this one?
68.
68. How did you get 68 so quick?
Because I knew if this was same thing for this one, but I would add just 60 and I would still have 8. And
How did you end up with 8 if there's 9 here?
because I would minus 1 from the 9 and put 1 right here and put a 10 right there.
Okay. What about this one?
Minus 36.
Why 36?
Because if you had 2 right here, you would minus this from 2, and
Okay.
you would put a stick right here, and then there would be.
So if you took 2 away from this, how many would you be left with?
6.
So 2 from 9 is 6?
Yes. No.
No? Yes? No? Yes?
No.
Which one is?
37.
37. So as you can see in the video, the student had lots of opportunity to bundle and unbundle both 10s and 1s to reinforce this understanding that we're after with NBT2. Let's take a look at how they were specifically able to do that. Well, when they were going ahead and adding 20 to the base 10 card, the student was able to recognize that the numerals 20 had a value of 20, which also means that it's 2 groups of 10. So they were able to add 2 more groups of 10 to the 76 that was already on the card. And then in this example here, the student was able to take 1 from the +9 on the post-it, give it to the 9 that is on the card to make a new bundle of 10, and create a new stick, which would leave them with 6 10s and 8 leftover 1s on the post-it. Here's something to consider when trying to teach this standard. A lot of the times when we talk about base 10 or base 10 numerals, we jump too quickly to base 10 blocks. One of the problems with this is that we actually undermine that whole understanding of unitizing that we might be after. When we use and introduce base 10 blocks too soon with our first grade students, we really don't allow them the opportunity to take numbers apart, and we don't provide them the opportunity to put numbers back together. There's a swapping or a trading out that needs to take place, and that can be very abstract for a lot of our students. So we want to try and use tools that model and mirror the types of thinking that students are using, where they can take a 10 apart and they can take that 10 and put it back together. The big piece here is that trading or swapping out manipulatives, as we just said, that can be really abstract for some of our students. So let's not be in a rush to introduce base 10 blocks. And this whole idea of swapping and trading out, well, that leads us right into NBT 7. Here, students should identify dimes and understand that 10 pennies can also be thought as a single dime. But this can be hard for students because students need to understand that one single dime can have the same value as 10 pennies. And it comes back to that reasoning that we were just sharing with base 10 blocks. It can be hard for students to see, hey, I have a bunch of pennies here, but if I group these 10 pennies together, all of a sudden I can now swap that out. That's a very abstract understanding for our students to kind of grasp as we begin to start with this unitizing. So the big thing to remember as you begin to tackle these two standards is that unitizing takes time. Thankfully, we've got a whole year to teach this understanding and not just tell kids to count by 10.